But the Davey Racing boys, here is Davo Johnson, the Australian, really happy with the suspension. And Danny Horn just behind them. The team powered by Yorkshire Tea, of course, as always. If you want an English cup of tea in Macau, you go and see Danny Horn. So Josh Brooks on treble 8, just taking it steady. I think maybe perhaps he'd have liked to have been a bit close. Well, yes, he certainly would have liked to have been close to the front, but I think maybe he would have been expecting to have been a bit close to the front, but it's taken maybe just a little bit longer for him to adjust to Macau. There really is nothing else like it. So it's a 20-minute warm-up session. Some riders, I think the likes of Peter Hickman, will just go out, do 3 or 4 laps. Peter Hickman is very happy with the way that his MGM FHO Racing BMW has handled so far, and with that qualifying time yesterday, I'm not surprised. Davey Todd as well, I think, may still be undecided about what tyre to put in. The harder tyre, of course, is a lot more stable, but not as quick as a soft. So there is Davey Todd about to go out. He had that clutch issue yesterday. In the end, they would put the, I think they put the original clutch back in, and it worked. Josh Brooks, who I was talking about before, of course, gearbox issues, that's all behind him now. As David Datzer goes through, starts on ahead of row 2, but in recent years, as here goes Todd, team boss John Burrows just giving him a final push. As I was saying, in years gone by, the motorcycle race tended to be at the end of the day, but this year it starts off. So temperatures, it's just around 22 Celsius. It's really cool. There's a nice cool breeze as well. So track temperature, not really an issue. Peter Hickman was saying last night that humidity in that second session, you just didn't notice it. The worst problem yesterday, really, for the riders in that final second qualifying session was the sun. As they went into Lisboa, straight into their eyes, and Hickman was saying that he would see his marker and then he couldn't see a thing. The glare was straight in, so he would see his marker go 1, 2, he would count 1, 2, and then hit the brake. Absolutely incredible. Datzer with a little bit of movement. And I've not seen David Datzer do anything but smile this week. The German rider, 4th fastest. Rob Hodson on the SMT Racing machine as well. So that sun issue, though, will not be a problem for the riders this morning, because the sun is shining practically in the opposite direction. So I think actually in that case, they will be grateful that they'll be going so early in the day as opposed to later. Sun's been up about an hour or so here in Macau, that's how early it is. So you may have, if you've been watching this week, thanks for taking the time, but you may have heard me mention, I say obviously places like the Isle of Man, TT, where we talk in miles per hour for laps. Here at Macau, the lap record I think is 95 miles an hour, and I mentioned about 100 miles an hour. So my good friend Chris Boyd has been crunching his numbers as per usual. and he thinks that 100-mile-an-hour lap on the Guia Circuit would be a time of 2 minutes 16.9. So considering that the lap record is 2 minutes 23, still held by Stuart Easton, which is incredible, from was it 2010? So we are quite some way away of that. I mean, Hickman's pole time yesterday is almost 8 seconds outside the 100-mile-an-hour lap. Although one day we'll get a little bit closer to it, but I think that's that's somewhere in the distance. So yeah, Chris says he makes the 2 minute 24.87 as 94.498 miles an hour. It's 152 kilometers. So front runners are averaging around 150 kilometers on this track, with the likes of the Macau hairpin and all that tight twisting part at the top as well. So to do 150 kilometers now, it's 2 minutes 26.8 seconds. So Hickman, Todd, Kostamo, all over an average of 150 kilometers an hour. As we look at Rob Hodson into Lisboa. The only rider who's not out on track, Peter Hickman, who was quite content to, after holding pole for so long yesterday, was quite content just to sit out the rest of the session. And then, of course, Davey Todd, who'd had those clutch issues, went out and claimed pole or provisional pole with that blistering lap. Peter thought, right, let's get the lid on. Out he went. And I mentioned it to him later, so is that a little bit psychological? And he said, yeah, a little bit, you know. So if Davey had gone into this race in pole position, he could have been super confident. But Peter says, I've now given him something to think about by just putting it past him and putting it into pole position. Now, not that there's any mean rivalry or anything in there, or they're all still the best of pals. We're all out eating in a local Italian restaurant last night. But anything that's going to give you an advantage when you're racing at this level. I think we might see Hickman in the next couple of minutes or so. Davey Todd and Michael Rutter both leaving it late to go out. Chris has been looking at the speed trap times as well. Oh, the speed trap times. Speed trap speeds. But there's just here the speed trap, just there. But Peter Hickman will tell you that it doesn't really mean a great deal, the speed trap into this. It's different for so many. But it is the fastest part of the course. Kostamo is showing the fastest 283.1. However, that could well, he may well have overshot. I did see a 299 the other day. That was in free practice, but so you can go through the speed trap very quickly. It doesn't mean you're necessarily going to make it around Lisboa. This has also been pointed out that Kostamo seems to be on the older S1000 BMW. I know it's a stock engine. He says it's a super stock bike, but maybe with the lost in translation. But there might be superbike chassis, etc. But all the others, of course, are on the M1000s. My thanks again to Chris Boyd for his help. So this is Todd at Donna Maria. You can just see as they go around, they can see where the taxis, I think that's taxis, or it might be just general parking, but you can see the stops there, and it tends to get a little bit dirty, a little bit greasier there than normal. But to be honest, I think by now we've had cars going around here all for the last 3 days. Last 2 days, I should say, sorry, and they've cleaned it up a little bit as well. In fact, I asked yesterday about the track conditions. There were some concerns that maybe like last night it might have been a little bit greasier with all the oil and everything else that had been put down by the cars racing through there early in the day. As Kostamo goes light on the rear as he comes into Lisboa. But the riders saying, no, it wasn't as greasy as they may have expected it last night. So we're halfway through warm-up. Purple's all the way for Davey Todd. I wonder what tyre Michael Rutter went with. Peter Hickman is out, by the way, so Peter Hickman has gone out on track, but they say they are ready to race. So there is Rutter and Todd, and you have to say both outfits look absolutely immaculate. The Bathams backed Michael Rutter on the FHO Racing BMW, and the Burroughs Engineering RK Racing BMW of Davey Todd. Interesting as well just to see that Todd running a yellow plate and Michael Rutter using a white plate, but there's nothing to look into here at Macau. Everybody's on a 1000cc machine, whether it is a superbike or a super stock. We know Davey Todd is on a superbike. Some would have perhaps thought that the yellow could have been an indication that it is a super stock machine that he's on. Just a little bit of front wheel from Michael Rutter there as he comes down and says enough is enough. I know one or two were at the start of, I know it's not the week, but at the start of the Macau Grand Prix week as we go on board with Peter Hickman. Some were saying they were just finding it, the front was going a little bit up in the air, a little bit too much for their liking, but they've managed to dampen that down. Here is Hickman out of Lisboa. And then the climb up San Francisco Hill. Are we going to witness later this morning Peter Hickman versus Davey Todd? Is that how this is setting up? Or will we have Erno Kostamo, David Datzer really getting involved, even maybe Michael Rutter? Just trying to see if the sun may be a little bit of an issue here. I don't think so. So once they've climbed up San Francisco, made their way through Maternity, Teddy Yip, Isle, Police, etc. And now begins the climb down to the track. Nadia Schutz, who is out. So Olivia Lutberger, Nadia Schutz and Mark Goodings all showing as having not qualified for the race, for not being 110% within the time set by this man. However, it looks as if they will have had special dispensation to take part in the race. But you would have to think, looking at the difference in lap times that Hickman and Todd, etc., were putting in, and those further down the back of the field, then you'd have to expect around laps 9 or 10 during the race. Then they are going to start getting lapped and they will become involved. It's Nadia Schutz with Rob Hodson for company as they blast their way down. Just over 5 minutes remaining. I've mentioned before, Erno Kostamo wasn't sure what he would go for, whether he would go for the stability of a hard over 12 laps race distance. And of course, sometimes we don't go the full distance at Macau. And maybe a soft tyre. I don't think he was too sure exactly what he was going to go with tyre-wise. Maybe he has a better idea now, having been out in this session. This man, Michael Rutter, certainly had no idea. He really just shrugging his shoulders. He doesn't know. They've had to really learn from the ground up with that machine. But they're getting it into a place where they're happy. And of course, he did that 2:27.5 in qualifying yesterday. And he'll tell you as well, all the years he's been coming, this track, the Guia Circuit, has improved tenfold since he started riding here back in the 1990s. So they really look after it. The organisers do a fantastic job and keeping it clean, bearing in mind it has a lot of heavy use. You can see often the traffic in the distance, or just not too far away from the racetrack. I think the fact Davey Todd did a 2:26.7, whatever tyre he did that on, I think it will be the softer. Todd on the Metzler as well, like Michael Rutter. Oh, Michael Rutter is back in the groove. Oh, it's a pity we didn't see the end of that. There's Hickman just coming out of Fisherman's. Certainly Michael Rutter looking a lot happier on the bike. Well, he's always looked happy, but certainly happier than he has done so far this week. Hickman with a 2:25.9. So he goes inside 2:26 again. Whether he actually knows that Todd did a 2:26.7, but he's just done a 2:25.9, and Davey Todd will have food for thought and maybe think again on the tyre situation. So yeah, job done, as you can see from the body language from Peter Hickman. So he'll be coming in at the end of this lap. Just 2.5 minutes to go before the checkered flag comes out. Then, of course, we will be back racing here. So we'll be back in less than an hour's time. So here is Rutter into the Melco hairpin. First gear, then second, third, into fourth, notch into fifth, then back down to fourth, third and second for Fisherman's Bend. Here we are now. Just nicking into second gear there, back on the power. Third, into fourth, fifth, around about 140, 50 miles an hour, then knocked back to third for this bend, up into fourth and across the line. 2:28.2 for Michael Rutter. But again, he looks like he's still trying to learn, still trying to discover, still trying to find out exactly what he's capable of on this BMW. Top 7 bikes, of course, all BMWs on the grid. So let's watch him coming down into Lisboa. Just see his head moving around there. So a little bit more calm, a little bit more collected than he was on the previous lap as he tips into Lisboa. You're around 180, 90 miles an hour on the approach in there. First gear, then second gear. There's Hickman coming up to Fisherman's. But he'll come straight in. So that's that for Peter Hickman. I think he looks very happy, and he has to start a slight favourite ahead of Davey Todd. Hickman, of course, a 3 times Macau Grand Prix winner. Davey Todd yet to find the top step of the podium, although he's not been coming here anything like as long as Peter Hickman. Todd, I think his debut was 2018. Josh Brooks, though, in the 2:32s now, so he's found a couple more seconds. And there is the checkered flag. So, a warm-up session, which is more about warm-up than times, of course. Josh Brooks, of course, had that gearbox issue, but that's all behind him now. Here's Rutter into Melco. He won't be going inside 2:28 this time, so Michael Rutter will be coming in very shortly. In fact, he'll just come straight down pit lane, I would imagine. So Josh Brooks still out there. Oh, in fact, Michael Rutter is going for the lap. So he'll have to ride his way around. So there is that. So he's fast 2:35.7 for Rutter on that occasion. Oh, he's really... So you can see he's using this to the full. So he's going again. He'll have to obviously come in, but just trying to find out what he's happy with the suspension, whether to go soft or whatever. There's the man. So here's Rutter again. I said David Datzer, all he's done is smile all week, and no surprise as well. That's on the MTP Racing by 0 up Pens 13 BMW. And I think obviously the most important part of this circuit is the run from Fisherman's down to Lisboa, and that is exactly what Michael Rutter has just been looking for. So he'll just be making his way back now to the pits. Paul Jordan and Davey Todd just chatting away. Can't quite make out what they're saying. So yeah, Michael Rutter's just making his way back now. This is all second gear through here. The odd nick into third. So that personal best lap there, that's just for warm-up. His best lap is a 2:27 that he achieved in qualifying yesterday. Knowing Michael Rutter, no doubt. At the end of this, he probably still says, I still don't know what tyre I'm going to go for. Go for the softer option, which could begin to tear up, as I say, around 2/3 distance, or go for the harder. But then again, maybe the race could end up just going 2/3 distance. So it is all pretty much a guessing game. A throw of the dice to see what will be the best way to achieve success at Macau this year. Pretty much all the names you'd expect to see at the top of the time chart at Macau. So we edge ever closer to the big finale to race week in terms of the bikes here at Macau. Peter Hickman against Davey Todd looking like the heavyweight bout. But there are plenty of other contenders in there as well, who just cannot be discounted. And of course, you might have the odd engine going pop, etc. Who knows? So there is a lot of questions to be answered, and they will be answered in around an hour or so's time. We're just coming up to 8 o'clock. Macau Motorcycle Grand Prix is not too far away. You've got plenty of time to go and get yourself a hot drink, maybe get some snacks, get ready for the entertainment that is on its way. Will it be this man, Davey Todd, who takes his first ever win at Macau? Or could it be number 88, Peter Hickman, who will make it 4 in a row? Can Michael Rutter add to his 9? Could he make it 10 wins at Macau? Don't forget, Erno, Kostamo and David Datzer, etc. Kostamo, the current king of Macau.